Hello and welcome to the second part of my Genji guide. Last time I went over the basics and lightly touched on strategy, but now I want to get into some more advanced topics. In this video, I'll be talking more in depth about playstyle, situations on when to pick Genji, and specific strategies to use against other heroes. Before I get into strategy, I want to quickly talk about where I feel Genji fits in with the rest of the hero roster, and address some opinions I've seen on why Genji is not competitively viable. Genji as a hero has two very strong abilities and a great ultimate. Yet in high level tournament play, he's a very niche pick and not seeing a lot of action. This is because, despite all of his abilities being very powerful, his shurikens are, well, they're just really not good. That's not to say they're bad, but when you get to the really high skill levels where people have extremely good aim, hit-scan weapons such as MCCREE's revolver or Soldier's pulse rifle really put Genji's shurikens to shame. For raw reliable damage output, these hit-scan heroes are generally a bit better than Genji, maybe even a lot better, but don't let that stop you from playing him. I see people on the forums and Reddit pointing to his lack of showing in tournaments as a sign that he's not very good, but the truth is this only applies to the very top level of play. During the beta, I myself have run into professional players fairly often, and I usually wouldn't pick Genji against them. But that doesn't really apply to pub matches and mid-range skill levels, so don't let people tell you Genji's bad just because he isn't picked in tournaments. Still, Genji is not great in every situation, so if your team needs the reliable damage of 76 or the tank busting power of Reaper, then you should probably switch heroes. The entire game of Overwatch is balanced around hero switching, so change when necessary. Genji has a relatively low amount of health for the close proximity in which he must operate to fight enemies. Because of his fragility, a player not using the mobility his passive grants him is probably not going to live very long. Acclimate yourself to viewing the map differently than if you're playing any other hero. It takes some practice and time, but after a while, the act of wall climbing and using the map's verticality for an advantage should become second nature. While taking shortcuts to get to the fight faster is nice, the most crucial and the most difficult time to use this mobility is in the midst of a battle. Genji's shurikens are just not good enough to simply take a fight while strafing on the ground. Moving around, either through simply double jumping or wall climbing, can make you a hard enough target to make up for this disadvantage in firepower. This is particularly important when using Dragonblade. When going after enemies with your ultimate, double jump constantly while changing direction between your jumps. Get used to the range of his ultimate and try to stay at maximum range. Some heroes are tricky to deal with as Genji. I'll go through some of the more unique matchups and how you should fight them. Some heroes, like Soldier 76, are unremarkable in how you should deal with them, so I'm not going to talk about all of the heroes. Dash through him to get behind him. You can't shield two directions at once, so he either has to keep his shield up against your team and take damage from you, or expose himself to fire from your teammates. Use double jump to stay out of his range and throw shurikens over his shield. If you play this correctly, there's virtually no way for REINHARDT to kill you. The priority here is dodging his hook. After that, stay about 15 feet away from him. This keeps you far enough away as to not get obliterated by a shotgun, but close enough so that he can't use his secondary fire effectively. He has a ton of health, so killing him takes some time, and I often ignore him in search of other targets. If there are no teammates to help grind down his massive health pool, he can just be used to farm ultimate charge. If you do get hooked, mash the dash button as fast as you can. Often you'll be able to dash before he can shoot you. Don't try reflecting though, as ROADHOG can usually get a shot off before your deflect goes up. Shoulder peek his turret down. That is, take quick steps from around a corner, throw some shurikens, and step back. You'll basically take almost no damage from the turret doing this. Use reflect to get safely into dash range. Dash onto him, right click him to death while double jumping back and forth around him. as she rarely ever jumps. Keep your reticle at head level while sweeping across where she's running. Reflect is extremely powerful against her pulse pistols. If you get more than one shuriken headshot, immediately dash onto her before she can recall. Get used to pressing shift as soon as you see that red hit marker. If you're less comfortable on Genji, save dash for after her recall. A fight between a MCCREE and a Genji is a game of chicken centered around MCCREE's flashbang. The goal in this duel, for both parties, is to stun your opponent for an easy kill. Reflect is of massive importance here, so don't take the fight unless you have it up. If you're playing against average players, reflecting as soon as the MCCREE turns to face you will usually yield success. However, skilled opponents will often not use flashbang unless they see you use your reflect first. Really good players can stun you even while you're reflecting by throwing the flashbang above your head or at your feet. If you see that it's inevitable that you're going to be flashbanged, time a jump just as it hits. You keep your momentum, and most of the time that keeps Fan the Hammer from killing you immediately. This is a matchup that comes down to reaction time, intuition, and a little bit of luck. I've grouped these two together because fighting them uses basically the same strategy. Stay just out of their range and use shurikens to get them low. Against Winston, as well as other large hitbox tanks, right click can be used from much farther away than usual. If you find yourself getting frozen by Mei or shocked by Winston, use your dash to get out of their range, either by dashing away from them, or, if doing so doesn't put you in any significant danger, get closer to them and dash directly through them. This should put you out of range on the other side of them, while also dealing damage. Genji is not a hero built to sit on the cart, stand behind a tank, or protect a support. He's most dominant skulking on the sidelines, seeking out advantageous fights. The number one rule about flanking is value your own life. This is a thing that I see inexperienced players struggle with the most. Dying is bad, obviously, but when you're behind the enemy, dying is even worse. Not only does it take longer to return to your position than if you were simply on the payload or at a choke point, but just the mere act of existing behind the enemy is helpful to your team. If you're diverting the attention of the enemy team, you're helping your team even without getting kills. Of course, kills are good and you should be seeking them out, but Genji's advantage is that you can fight what you think you can win and get away from what you think you can't win. Memorize the locations of health packs, and always leave an escape path towards a larger one. Wait for your ultimate to charge, then take those fights in which you're outnumbered. This flanking playstyle has many different options and strategies, and being able to decide what exactly you should be doing in any given game is crucial to success on Genji. This can be anything to hunting teleporters, dealing with static defenses, or waiting in the wings to clean up an incoming team fight, or just getting behind the enemy team and being as much as a pain in the ass as you can. Recognizing the best course of action in any given situation takes experience and game sense, which are hard to convey in a video, but there are some tips that I can give you. Genji was tailor-made to find angles to take out turrets and bastions. Clear these out for your team to make way for a push. As Genji, it is your job within the team to keep track of and destroy enemy teleporters. When a teleporter goes down, one of your teammates' characters will automatically give a call out, so listen for it.
He's in the back, okay.
Since teleporters can be game-changing when left alone, this should be priority number 1. This should be pretty self-explanatory. Snipers are usually in isolated positions, making them easy targets to hunt and kill. Due to the nature of his kit, and the fact that he is the only reset on kill mechanic in the game, Genji is insane at cleaning up fights. If your teammates have a lot of consistent, reliable damage, stay near them and pick off the targets that they get low. This is especially useful in conjunction with heroes like Soldier 76 or Junkrat, who can deal a lot of damage and get opponents very low, but have trouble finishing off kills when the enemy disengages. Genji can make up for this weakness and turn it into an advantage. If your team has any large area effect ultimates, such as Zarya or Reinhardt, keep track of them and stay near them if they have their ultimate up. These heroes also often have trouble finishing off opponents that they hit with their ultimates, allowing you to clean up. And before you say anything about kill stealing, in Overwatch, there is no such thing as kill stealing. A kill is a kill for the team. Not much to say here, just kill the healers first. This applies for every hero. Your team will thank you. This isn't a MOBA, but there are still players that can carry a team. If there's one particular enemy that is on fire and giving your team a lot of trouble, focus on taking him out. This also applies to every hero. Dragonblade's range is longer than that of standard melee attack. A lot longer, actually. The range on it is actually larger than Reinhardt's hammer. Because of this, the area of effect seems to be almost cone-shaped, at least from my experience. The area to hit is larger further away from you. Ideally, you should be using this range, as if you're touching up against the enemy, any small movement they make could cause you to miss entirely. If you're further away, he can't juke out of your swing as easily. The attack also cleaves, so look for clumps of enemies to swing at. Learn exactly how far you need to move your mouse, or turn your joystick if you're playing on a console, to execute a 180-degree turn. Combined with his dash, you can land a hit even before your dash is finished. Always be thinking of the next target before you kill your current one. The faster you can turn and use your reset to dash on a new target, the better. Dragonblade makes Genji a priority target for the enemy team, so to maximize your survivability, use your double jump. Constantly. You're not going to last long on the ground, as most people tend to shoot at guys running at them, screaming Japanese and carrying a giant sword. Mastering double jump while changing direction and staying in attack range is difficult, but in the hands of a player that can do this, Dragonblade is easily one of the best ultimate abilities in the game. A good Dragonblade user is a walking highlight reel. That's it for this guide. I hope I was able to teach you something you didn't know, and after watching this I hope you have success playing Genji. I'm planning on releasing more guides after launch, so subscribe to see when those go live. And thanks for watching.